Today I thought we could talk a bit about what are the first steps to do a desktop study on any property. So the minute you are interested in a property, what are the websites you can visit to gather all the information needed to decide if it's worth a visit or not. First step obviously is go to Google Maps, get a feel of the area if you don't already know it, put in the address, and usually I like to walk up and down the street a bit, get a better feel of what the properties are like, even the street, and then I usually go to Rightmove or Zoopla and get the first bit of information. So here we have a property I'm working on. Usually Rightmove and Zoopla can give us information like some pictures, so I can see at what state the property is, usually, but not always, the floor plan. These floor plans are real estate floor plans, so they are not really detailed. I have seen many times we have great differences. This is the general information that many property developers can access, and now we will talk about what are the next steps, what more you can find out. So the first thing is look at the area. This is in Tootingbeck, and find the council website. So Tootingbeck is in Wandsworth, and this is the planning website. You can usually Google the council name and planning, and it will bring up the website. Here you can search a property by the address or application number. You will probably not have one. So Planning Explorer, search by address or search on a map. So we will see all of these. When you search by Planning Explorer, this is the site. So usually all councils have the same format. So I'm using Wandsworth as an example, but this is the same for all councils usually. There are a number of ways you can search. You can even search by application type. So if you have something specific in mind that you want to do and you want to see in the area what other symptoms there are, you can search by type. By street name, I go by address. So I put in the address, the number and the postcode, and that brings up the address. So if I click on this, I get to have all the planning history of the site. This particular site, I can see the first number here and here indicates the year the planning application was submitted. So I can see that in 1975, it was converted into 2 self-contained flats. And I can see here that it was approved. Then in 2012, we had a demolition of a conservatory and erection of single-story extension and mansard roof with 2 dormers. So I might think that what I could achieve under PD has already been done, but there are a number of things I can also do to add footprint and value to this property. A map search of all planning councils. So this is the property I'm looking at. I can see you can see here we have a number of information that we can see. The red ones are applications that are now live. So what is going on right now at the neighborhood, and I can see there's nothing going on. The yellow bits are applications that have already been decided. So you can see here that obviously my property, as we have seen in the previous tab, has a planning history. And if you click on this, you can see all the applications. And by link to details, it will take you to the actual application. And then I also like to look at the neighborhood. So I can see down the road, there are a number of applications, and I usually go about and see what has been approved. And that gets me a feel of what planners are favorable of. And when I see applications that have been refused, I can see what planners do not generally like. So I can have a feel of what I can achieve with this property or not. When I click in an application, I get a page like that. It has all sorts of information, but what I'm really looking for is this, the associated documents. This takes me to another page again. Remember, this is a process, and I'm looking for the drawings. The difference with the real estate drawings is that these are really detailed drawings. These are are accurate drawings. I can have elevations and sections and all the information about this property. So you can see here, I have the full elevations back and forth. I have a better feel of the loft height, for example, whereas from Google Maps and real estate agents, you may not have a good feel if you can achieve another floor in there. And this is the existing, I should go to proposed, and the proposed plans have usually dimensions, so I know exactly how big these rooms are, and in my mind I can understand how I can convert them and change them. So these are the plans, and this is a section. So in this one, as I said, they have converted the loft, but if they hadn't, I would be able to understand from the height if I can get a room there or not. So I find this very useful. Another information we're looking for is TPOs. The name means tree preservation order. So we have some trees that councils want to protect. They don't want them to be taken out, and this can restrict what you can achieve in a property or in a site. Usually most councils have maps where you can search and see if there are any TPOs on your site. For this example, I have used Elmbridge because in London, we don't get many TPOs, but the further out you go from London, the more TPOs you can get. So you can see on the map of this council how many TPOs there are. So if you were looking at this property, for example, you can see how restrictive this is, as you wouldn't be able to extend in the back that easily, or you wouldn't be able to extend the full width of the property. Another element that we are looking for, and this may seem a bit complicated, but it's good to know from the get-go, is the flood risk. So you can easily just Google flood map for planning, and you will get that government page. Here, you just put in the postcode of the property you're looking at, and you get a map, and you can see the flood risk. When your property is in a blue or yellow, that adds another level of complexity for the planning application. It means you will need to do a flood risk assessment. That's another cost on top of your cost. And the dark blue has some complexity in construction. So you have to be aware of that, and it's good to know if your property is in one of these areas. This is the first steps we do when we look at the property and see what we can get. I find interesting in the map, you can see the building line, so you can get a feel of if you can extend or not, and how the planners look at the area and what they're willing to approve or not. So this could be part one of our presentation. We've talked a bit about planning and TPOs, flood risk, and we will talk a bit more about how the overall planning regulations work in the overall area you're looking at part two. Thank you very much.